noise here. All right, today we are going to proceed with IS1, the solving of the questions, right? Hello, I hope you got me. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So we are on question number 2. Let's solve question number 2. As usual, when you're dealing with questions, you should first seek out to know the
Hello,
requirement.
sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Hello, I can see that it's just fine. I'm audible. Okay. So we have to prepare the statement of profit. We are told that prepare in a form suitable for publication to the shareholders of Eagles Mount PLC, the statement of profit or loss and the other comprehensive income for the year ended 31st July 2017. B.
Yes, I can hear you.
For the year ended
Photo something.
July 2017. And lastly, statement of financial position at 31st July 2017, right? And we are told here, notes to the financial statements are not required, but all workings should be what? Should be shown. Okay, so we have to start our questions, right? So although our financial position is on part C, I would suggest this, right? This is what I do suggest. I say, when having these questions, you would have the trial balance here normally, but also you'd have the additional information, right? So you need to start knowing how to go about it. The trial balance, it means double entries were already made. That's why you can see the debit side equals to the total of credit what? Side. So whenever you read the note, whenever you read the additional information, make sure that you pass the double entries, right? To be sure of your statement to balance, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you are doing this kind of question, you have to follow up like this. Okay, I'm going to do this, right? Let me say that I have the statement of comprehensive income here, the first one, right? You can say statement of profit or loss and the other comprehensive income, or you can just say statement of comprehensive what? Income, right?
Income.
Yes, and then I could put something here and say maybe this is a statement of financial what? Position. Changes in equity, no worries, we'll just see it, no problem, right? Yes. After getting financial position, you have that part of equity, so just try to know how to go about it. So no problem. And then maybe we could add one extra sheet for the workings, right? This extra sheet for what?
Yes.
So I could write down here the what? The workings is fine. And here you have the what? The statements. You have the statements. It is fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we know the format for income statements. Yeah, obviously we would have revenue. That's the common thing, right?
What are we using? Are we using the nature or we are using the function?
If not specified, definitely we usually go with the function. We resort to nature when you are specifically told. But when everything is silent, yes, we normally use the function, which is the normal one, and almost all people know it. Most people, most people don't know whether the by nature exists, right? They just know the income statement is normally. So you have the revenue, and then we have cost of what?
Cost of sales.
Of sales, yes, this is great. Cost of sales, that's the common thing. So, in an exam, you have to be quick, right? So what you do, whatever you grasp from the trial balance, it shouldn't concern you any longer because everything will have been done, right? So,
yes.
For example, I could say, okay, I have cost of sales. Okay, cost of sales 76,800, right?
Yes.
Just copy it and we get done. No any explanation is given. So I could say, okay, it's fine. So I have my cost of sales, but when we are doing an exam, of course, there is no extra information, but you shouldn't trust that, right? You may find whatever you find. So it's your choice. If you put it in the workings, for example, I could say, let me do it maybe. I'm just doing a bit different now from what we did there. In the solution, I could write here cost of what? Of sales. I'm doing this so as to show that it could have its own workings too, right? So cost of sales workings. So I could see figure as part as found in the trial balance. This is what we found in the trial balance. What is that, right? Yes, per
Yes,
trial.
yes.
How much?
The trial balance.
1,800.
766.
Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay, we go on to the question and we have the distribution costs. Anyway, you know, we have a lot of choices. For example, in the income statement, you could just make up your mind to decide on something that is also very what? That is also very possible. It's just your decision, right? You could have done it this way.
Yeah.
You could have said, okay, the income statement usually, we have the revenue, the cost of sales, then the gross what?
Gross profit.
The gross profit. Then after gross profit, you could say you have what extra thing? Will you have the administration expenses? Admin what? Expenses.
Expenses.
And we have the distribution costs. Distribution costs, right?
Yes.
And these are the operational expenses that we usually presume. Whatever that will be there, we could just decide to increase it to maybe to either administration expenses or distribution what? Costs. But
Oh,
also you could add something called other what? Other income, right? For example, maybe you know you could have some other income. Yes, you could just say maybe you could have other income, or sometimes you could decide to put other income above what? Administration expenses. It's all fine, right? Other what?
okay.
Other
Other
income.
income.
But now you have to know if you use this method, there are other income that will be from operations and maybe other from investment, like maybe interest income and what, right? And so
Yes.
if you do it this way now, it could cause problem. You know, you won't have the room to have the operating profit because suppose maybe you have interest income here. Down here you can say operating profit because that profit will have come from both operations and what? And the investment.
And interest.
Yes. So maybe in this way, you may not have to write their operating what? Profit, right? Else, maybe you
Yes.
could just decide to say, okay, maybe I have other income from other operating income, and then down here I will say non-operating what? Income, just to distinguish
Income.
them, right? Maybe let me just
Okay.
that way. You know, I like to substantiate matters very cleanly. So let me just write this, right? You know, you're just learning here. So other operating income, and maybe you go. So if saying of other operating income, something like interest income won't come here because if you're not a bank, let's say, or financial institution, obviously you have invested somewhere, right? It won't be a normal business
Yes.
operation. Okay, and then maybe down here you could say now, you could say what? You could come and say, okay, I have the operating what? Operating profit, right?
Yes.
Operating profit. And maybe after the operating profit, now I would say, okay, let me go to non-operating issues, right? Let's say maybe like
Yes.
non-operating income, let's say what?
Operating
Operating
income.
income, yes. Something like that. And maybe you could have non-operating expenses, of course, which would normally be finance costs. So I can just write here finance what? Finance costs.
Finance.
Yes. Or maybe before that you could say profit before interest and what? And tax. PBIT, right?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe what? IT. And after that, profit before interest and tax, you could maybe say that you could have the interest or usually call finance what? Finance cost, because sometimes you may have items not coming from interest. Maybe you can have the preference shares that have the figures like debt, at which debt bears what? Interest. So they could also be taken to finance cost. So after having finance cost there, you could say that you have profit before what? Tax. And then you will charge your tax there, after which point you will have the profit for the year or profit after what? After tax, right?
Yes.
Or profit for the what? For the year. After having profit for the year, then I think we'll have those maybe other comprehensive income, something like those other comprehensive income, and you would know that maybe the revaluation gains, the whatever that will come, right? Your way.
Yes.
I hope you got that point.
Yes.
Okay, so you could say that, okay, I don't know what the notes entail, so I'm going to put the workings for each. If nothing more is given, I'll just take it as it is and leave it as a balancing figure, right? So we start.
Yes.
We have the cost of sales there. Maybe I could have said, okay, I said cost of sales. Let me also have revenue. It's fine. I have maybe the workings for revenue. Yeah, right? Maybe you could have the
Yes.
workings for, we spoke of administration expenses, right? Admin what?
Yes.
Expenses.
Expensive.
Could have workings for rate. You could also have maybe the workings for distribution costs. Yeah?
Yes.
Distribution costs. You could do something like that. Okay, let's just go on. If we do need more, we'll be increasing more too, right? And also here, as
Yes.
for the workings, since we are solving here, I could say these are the workings for the what? For the income statement, for the statement of comprehensive income items, right? Maybe I
Yes.
add another sheet here and say, okay, these ones are the working for what? The statement of financial what? Position, just like that.
Position.
Yes. Okay, so I'll be this one. Let's go back to the question now. So we have dealt with cost of sales already. So it's your sole decision. You could say, okay, let me deal with all the trial balance, but it doesn't matter. In the trial balance, when you copy something, when you copy a line item, consider it as if it is not there because it will have already been included somewhere, right?
Yes.
So it's like this. If you need to go to the notes, it's fine. You can go. Just make sure that when you read the note, you get done with it totally. You end up with the double entries, right? So don't
Yes.
okay. You have to go to do maybe the balance until you finish it. No, you need to know when you are done with something and whether you have recorded it. Okay. The next is the costs.
Hello.
Yes, I can take you.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Now you've come back.
Okay, so we have the distribution costs here, 24, right? 24,400.
Yes.
Distribution
Yes.
cost, debit side is an expense.
Cost.
24,400. Distribution costs. This, what is it? This one, yeah?
Yes.
2,400, right? This is as
Yes.
per trial balance. Let me just be there. We just copied it there again. All right?
Yes.
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 And then you just go back to the question and proceed as usual. We have the administration what? Expenses.
Expense.
12,000. You see that? So you just come here and say, okay, I have the admin expenses worth 12,000. You just write your 12,000 there. This is as per trial what?
Yes.
Per trial balance, right?
Trial balance. Yes.
But actually, luckily for this question, they are telling you that we have additional information on admin expenses. Listen, even on these ones, you shouldn't trust something in an exam, right? It may seem like
Yes.
distribution and it is over, but maybe you may have to add something else later, right? Because remember,
Okay.
I've limited the number of line items that we'll use, just like I showed you, right? In these workings, we
Yes.
just said, okay, we'll have maybe this and this and this. So whatever remains, like depreciation or what, you will have to put it there, right?
Yes.
Yes. So that's why I've done that. Okay, going more and more, we have note 10 here. So it's fine. You may just go to note 10, but make sure that we get done with it. That's how we deal with these matters, right? Because
Yes.
I thought this is note 10, we can go there directly and finish it. So that let me tell you one thing, whenever you deal with a note, you don't need to go and read it again. That's the principle. If you do that, it will be like you are repeating the exam again and again, and you'll be repeating the same thing, right? So don't care, okay, why I'm going to note 10.
Okay.
You can deal with any note you wish. Whatever note that seems easy for you, you can deal with it. What you need to do is you just need to come up with a double entry there. Right.
Okay.
That's the logic. You don't have to
Yes.
memorize anything. Okay. So this is note 10. It's like you see it. It says rent attributable to administrative expenses of 3 million was paid and recorded, right? Okay, 3 million
Yes.
paid and recorded. 600,000 of rent are outstanding at 31st July 20. How much?
2017.
Okay. So rent attributable to administrative expenses. Okay, rent is usually taken to admin expenses, and it was worth 3 million, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it was recorded and paid, but 6,000 are still what? Still what? Outstanding. So
Outstanding.
when you go to these admin expenses here, admin expenses, why that? It's here, it's 12 million. You know, you have the 3 zeros, it's 12 million. So 3 million out of these ones were related to rent, right? But they are paid already. So 600,000
Yeah,
is still outstanding. So is that a liability or not to the company?
it's a liability.
Liability is an accrued expense, right? 600,000.
Yes.
Remember, we held the 3 zeros up here, so just take it as 600. So at that point now, you need to go with the double what? The double entry. You get the point now.
Mm.
Yes, the double what? The double.
Yeah,
What should the double?
double entry.
Yes. Now I can just add something here. You know, my aim is for you to get to know how to deal with this. Let's say that maybe you are dealing with double what? I can just write here
Double
double.
entry.
Okay, so you'd say for not, we start with not what? Not 10, like you have just seen, right? Not how much?
Yes.
Not 10. What would be the
Not
double?
10.
What would be the double entry? Could you help?
Yes, I'll try.
Okay, it means that we are still owing 600, right?
Yes.
Still owing
So you
600.
debit rent,
You debit rent, good. You debit rent
um,
by how much? By
by
600.
600,000
And then you credit accrued what? Rent.
rent.
Accrued rent, you could just accrued rent by what? By 600 again, right?
600. Yes.
Just like that, right?
Yes.
And so as for rent here, since you said rent is attributable to administration expenses, so you could just say debit admin what? Expenses, because
Admin expense.
yes, by 600. So you see, so you say, okay, so that note just required this. It just needed me to increase the admin expenses by 600 because an expense has a
Yeah.
debit nature and we are debiting it. It means we are increasing the expenses by 600 and they would have a liability, the current liability in the statement of financial position at 600 again, right?
Yes.
So you go to your income statement and say, oh, admin expenses, I have not what? From not what? From not 10.
Not 10.
From not 10, I have to do what? To add their 6 what?
To add 600,000.
Yes. And then that 600 should be shown. Okay, let me remove someone. Hello.
Hello?
Okay, can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's fine. So you can see this now, right? So I've made the double
Yes.
entry already and I've debited you already. So you need to credit too, so as to be done with this, right? So when you go to the statement of financial what? This is a financial statement, eh? But statement of financial,
Yes.
you would say, oh, it's fine. In the statement of financial position, I have yeah, and you know what? You know this matters. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Let's put the statement of financial
When
position.
admin, we are in,
Hello?
yes, that's where,
Yes, statement of financial, because you know we'd have to be adding rows and columns, and so it could cause issues. So we are doing this, right? So we say statement of financial position. We know that we have the non-current assets, then the current assets. You know that we usually have it this way, right? We have the asset first, and then the what?
yes,
The asset.
current asset.
Okay, maybe let's say just write the let me just write the assets, and then we have the what? The equity and liabilities. Equity and the what? And
Liability.
these are just the headings, liabilities. At which point we will have to explain how we got our equity alone, right? And then we would
Yes,
explain how we got our what?
our
Our
liability.
liabilities. And then as for the liabilities, we'll start specifying. Maybe we have the non-current liabilities, and then we'll come to the current what? Liabilities, right? Just that way.
Yes.
Now, the accrued expense, the admin expenses should go to current liabilities, obviously, right? So you could see, okay, I have the accrued what? Administration what? Accrued.
So are we not doing the profit or loss?
Why,
I'm getting confused.
why are you saying are you not doing? Aren't we doing it here? You are doing it here. Don't you see?
Yes, we have. No,
The,
we are now on. Okay, we are not putting the amounts.
that's why I told you need to understand this. If someone tells you cost of
Okay.
sales, it may not necessarily be the full cost of sales. You may have to do the adjustment. So instead of writing it there
Okay.
right away, instead of writing right away there, that's why we are doing the workings. Here we have cost of sales.
Ah,
It is the same as here. We have the cost of sales here, and we are writing this figure. You may have maybe like for some exams, you may even have five lines.
okay,
So you get
okay.
the
I
figure after
understand.
getting, yes, you get the figure and you come and plug it here. Else, if you don't want to do it this way, you need to come here and put the brackets. You open the brackets. You say maybe 24. When something comes, you need to deduct, you say -9. Whenever other thing comes,
Okay.
plus 45. You see that?
Okay,
So
okay, sir.
yes, and that's why if something doesn't have a lot of notes, you can just do it there right away, and you add and deduct and add, and everything gets done, right? But I just need us to do
Okay.
everything cleanly, right?
Yes.
Yes, let's do it this way, and then you'll know, okay, so I could have done it this way and this way, but right now, let's go the long way, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we were on what? On the statements here. And we said that on this double entry, what did we say? We said the credit accrued what? Accrued rent, right?
Right.
So it's fine. Maybe there is another accrued rent here in the trial balance. You could check so that if you find it, you could just add it there right away, right? You can
Okay.
see that it's not there, right? No any
Yes.
accrued rent, and it's fine. Of course, it's just right to write it there. So I would come and say, where is my statements here? We said it stays on the current what? Liabilities, if not specified, of course. We expect it to be paid in the short term. So I would say accrued what? Rent.
Right.
Much? Okay, for financial position, maybe we'll be starting our figures at this point from D, at D, right? Or we could set them at C, no problem. We could be putting them at C, right? C and what? And the D.
Indeed.
Part B will be for income, column B will be for income statement. Column C for financial position first debit. I mean, the first line and the second line for what? Financial position too. So we could say, okay, the second part, I mean, D would be for the total figures, maybe total current liabilities or total, right?
Okay.
Current
Yes.
liabilities, yes. So for part C, let's just write here, accrued rent was how much? 600. You get that?
600.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can see how we do it. By doing that, I'm just trying to show you how to make sure that everything balances. By doing that, we mean that among these notes to the financial statements, we are totally done with note 10. We no longer have to think about it again, ever again, right? You need to write off the matters. You
Yes,
have
sir.
seen that. Yes, that's why I'm showing you that way. You could even say, okay, let me take
Yes.
whatever note that is simple to deal with, and you could do it. But I don't want it to go that way, right? So it doesn't matter whether you combine trial balance and then you go back there. It doesn't matter.
Hello?
Yeah, well. Hello.
Yes, now we've come back.
Okay, so provision for warrant claim, right? Provision for warrant what? Claim. You know,
Yes.
it on I-37
Same.
contingent liabilities and contingent what? Assets, right? A provision
Okay.
is obviously
Yes.
just like speaking a liability of uncertain timing or what? Amount. Which amount? 12,000. it is a liability. You can see it is on the credit nature, because credit means on the trial balance, credit means income or liability or maybe equity. So you obviously see it's
Okay.
an income, it's not an equity. So it's obviously what? A liability.
Liability.
Yes, it's obviously a liability. You get that?
Yes.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, then you can just go further and see that this is the provision and this is its amount. Let's go to note 1. Let's go to note 1 then, right? And see what
Yes.
does note 1 say? Note 1 says Eagles Mount PLC maintains a provision for warrant claims expected to arise in the future on goods sold. You see that? At the reporting date, this provision was carried at 12 million. At the reporting what? Reporting date. It has been agreed that this provision should be
Yes.
increased to 17.5 million. You can see that. So the provision, is a
Yes.
uncertain timing or amount. Even the amount is uncertain, so we usually remeasure it at the end of each period, right? And you can see
Yes.
the balance, this was the figure, and so this figure had not been adjusted, but we have been provided with a revised
Yes.
figure, right?
Yes.
So you could have said, okay,
17 million.
in the trial balance, I already had a provision of 12,000, right? A provision of
Yes.
12,000. Okay, so I would say, okay, it's fine. I had a provision here, warrant. Let me just write here warrant, right? Warrant.
Yes.
That warrant was having an amount of what? 12,000, right? 12,000. So that is
12,000.
we just copied. But you can see now it was having 8,000, 12,000, sorry. But the actual figure now is 17,500. You see that? This
Yes.
figure there is a new amount. So you need to know the double entry there too. So by how much should we increase it? Increase it from 12,000
Five
to 17.
5,500.
That is the increase.
5,500,000.
Okay, so we need to increase our provision by this figure, right?
Yes.
How do you increase the provision by that figure? It means you credit the provision, you credit the provision by 5.5, right? And then the rest goes to the income statement as an expense. So you go to the income statement and the expense 5 point what? 5,500
Point.
again, right?
Yes.
That's a double entry. So that's what you're going to do. So you say this provision should actually be, we should actually add there 5,500. I'm doing this intentionally because I could have just said right there 17,500. I could have just written it there because it is provided in the exam. But I'm showing you this to show that always respect something in the trial balance. Copy it as it is, and the rest would be taken appropriately. Right? You would understand why that figure of 5,500 goes to income what? Statement. That's the meaning.
Income statement.
Yes. It's going to cancel at any time. So it does that, and you just join back. But what to know is in the
Okay.
income statement, we would have an expense, right, of provision, right? Provision expense,
Yes.
which you could take to administration expense. That's just something administrative. So I could just write here what? Warrant provision, and I could write here 5,500, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now let me